Alright everyone, welcome to round 3, game 2. Here we have an interesting hand here. So right off the bat, I I cheated a little bit and looked at what Trellan's last list was playing because Blue-Tron lists can vary wildly. Like they can have more counter spells, for example. They can have like a Karn Great Creator package, or just have more artifact hate than not. So of course, like trying to refer to someone else's old list, it can be a trap because they may have changed the list for this particular Mox Showcase challenge, but it gave me a good idea. And what I found out was that its general its sideboard is generally pretty light for Neoform. It's going to be like a few more counter spells, if that, and then very little artifact hate as well. So what I did do was I didn't bring in the Deliverance or the Abrupt Decay. I didn't feel like their list, Trellan's play style as well as deck list, like deck building style, lended to having like these graph diggers, etc. And we didn't see a Karn Greek creator in game one, so I thought we could skimp on hate for like Trinisphere or Pit the Needle or Graph Digger's Cage. Although I think it's possible that I should just bring in the deliverances because they're kind of free because they cycle in their green. So I think that's actually a mistake here. I'm not quite sure what I was thinking back there. I boarded out the children and a wild counter package. The reason being that the toughest part of this matchup should be that producing an actual Grizzlebrand rather than actually finishing a combo. So I wanted to focus more on that, and for that we brought in the four blue packs as well as keeping the full Veil Summers. So this is an interesting hand here. So if we draw Eldritch Evolution, this will turn one with two pack negation backup. Otherwise, this is at least two cards away, right? One card being a blue land, and one card being a Neoform. So one of the things that you have to like think about critically about when you're playing a combo deck or when you're playing a linear combo deck like Neoform is that you want to kind of like envision what the end state and the state of the end game is going to be and how we get to that point. And against blue decks, that mostly does not involve turn one kill, although Bluetron can be turn one upon because they don't have force negation. But most of the times it involves us drawing sculpting a hand with like blue pact or veil summer backup. So even though this is pretty sketchy, we do have four outs to win right off the bat, and then like even if we don't win, even if we don't hit right off the bat, I think we have time because they don't pressure our life total that well enough. And even if they develop their hand to be like two counter spells, like we have the backup already. So this might be a loose keep, but I think I like keeping it. Looks like Past Me did agree. They went on 5, which is interesting. Alright, so they still have Relic, which really indicates to me that they don't have a lot of good cards, period, for this matchup. Because it's like, just like, this is simply a 2 mana cycle, right? So we draw the Allosaurus Rider. And here I'm having pretty evil thoughts about just presenting a turn 1 clock. They shouldn't have cards like Dismember, for example. Of course, like I think Bluetron does play like one or two Cyclonic Rift sometimes, but keep in mind that they multi 5 and their keep range can be like super wide. So I think I actually like producing a turn 1 Allosaurus Rider and start beating down, and then pitch these two. I like it more because we're actually one green card away from having two Allosaurus Riders. Also, they have like Aether Gust as well. So Aether Gust beats us like regardless of whether we play a Allosaurus Rider or not, or because they can just like they can just Aether Gust the Neoform of the Eldritch Evolution. So playing out the Allosaurus Rider gives us an outside out of just like beating them now with like turn 1 Delver basically. So I think that I played the turn 1 Delver here. Yep, I did. And we're hoping that, well, one, they don't have an Aether Gust or anything, and two, if they do, we draw another green card and start beating down. Let's see what we do here. So we do have the green card, so I think we're just gonna like try to beat down here. So let's say they go down to 18, we produce another 2-2. That's already like a 4-turn-ish clock if we draw land in the near future. So we're just gonna keep beating down here. Yep. So this looks like a funny gamer already here. They're ramping, which is fine, but they're nowhere near Trong, which is good. I'm hoping that their hand is like full of just remands and condescend, which actually, which now does not do anything. All right, let's see what we draw here. This is actually perfect. They now become 3/3, so we are actually on a clean 3-turn clock, which is great. I believe that they can't like Aether Gust. Yeah, so we got Aether Gusted, but I believe that we can't. They can't even Aether Gust like during combat to save 3 damage because of the fear that we have a Neoform. Because keep in mind that we actually kept 7, right? So our hand must be like somewhat good. So they are Aether Gusted away one of the Allosaurus Rider. I put it at the bottom. We can still like combo by just drawing Neoform, but they're still on a 4-turn clock, and they're on a 3-turn clock if we draw land. So they have nothing. Funny, funny enough, putting out the turn 1 Delver and the turn 2 Delver insulates us from this sort of thing because, as you recall, we only play one Grizzlebrand, so now we cannot even combo anymore. So this is like 100% just beat down city here. So we're gonna hope that this little Allosaurus that could will take us to the Promised Land. So they're on a 3-turn clock. Still nothing. Like they play like Wormcoil sometimes, like stuff like that, but um, it's debatable whether those should be in the deck, but given that they're already keeping the relics, then maybe those mid-range threats are in the deck still, which will be pretty bad because this is a 3/3. Okay, no land is kind of bad news because we had an out to go land for 4 damage and 5 damage to have a backdoor chance at killing in 2 turns. Sorry if I'm stumbling a bit. So they have 2 spreading seas, so we're definitely all in on the Allosaurus Rider beatdown plan, and just like praying to RNGesus. Trellin unfortunately said good games. They didn't have anything. I believe they had condescends or remands, which now does nothing. So this game was a pretty amusing one. Hopefully, it taught some people that sometimes you can win scrappy games even if you don't have a clean Grizzlebrand kill. And keep in mind that like if we didn't like recognize that line on turn 1 and started deploying the Delvers on turn 1 and turn 2, basically, then we would have given Trellin at least one more turn, if not 2 more turns, and who knows, like they may have found another gust and we would be dead in the water. So that just stresses the importance of being flexible even if you're a linear combo deck. Anyways, that's round 3 of the showcase challenge review with Neoform. We'll be back with round 4. See you in a bit.